Yeah,
No.
I think that probably makes sense. If you're just turning up the volume of the headset,
Are you recording right now?
maybe.
Yeah.
It's kind of how we do it.
Yeah, you just jump
We
right
just
into
hit
it.
the button and go.
All right.
I mean, it's that whole, okay, let's test it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That's what it used to be. It used to be, it was like, we'd hit record.
And I would listen to it for a little bit, and then I'd play it back to see what our audio was at, and then
And then we'd keep going.
and then I gave up on that.
Yeah.
So then we just start going.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah,
you know.
just do the thing.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Cold open? Is that what it's called?
It is winter.
Yeah. I'll go.
Doesn't feel like it outside right
it's
now.
it's actually very pleasant outside.
Really?
Yeah, it's like
I haven't been
40
outside
degrees.
today. I haven't been outside.
My jacket is almost for show. Like it was, if it gets cold outside, I'll have it.
If it gets
Nice.
cold.
But no, it's
Nice.
been pretty nice outside, all
Cool.
things considered. So
I can dig it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't see. I actually do have my Deadzone podcast shirt on.
Hey, we need to get one of these for Rick.
I agree.
So with that, welcome to Deadzone the podcast.
Welcome to the Deadzone podcast. Deadzone is the sci-fi tabletop.
And we have a special guest with us today.
Yeah.
We have Rick-tok. At
Hey,
least that's
what's
what
up,
he's
everybody?
called over on
On the
Michigan
GT.
podcast.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And once again, thanks for letting us record here.
Always
In the studio,
always.
yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Always a blast.
It's a wonderful place.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we might as well jump right into is Adepticon.
Adepticon.
It is quickly becoming convention season.
Yes, it is.
And so Mantic has got a big event coming up with Adepticon.
Yep.
And then I know, Rick, you've got a whole mess of other conventions and projects that you're working on.
And I'll be at Adepticon.
You'll be at Adepticon as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. With one of my projects.
Yeah. Yeah, you sure will.
yeah. So for those of you that have either been living under a rock or outside of any kind of terrestrial communication,
Nice.
the big event coming up for Adepticon, Mantic has several tournaments going on that I'm running.
You're running
a number of
yeah.
them. We have a couple of big Kings of War events
Nice.
for those rank and flank fantasy fighters. We've got Armada is returning as
Yay.
sold out at 26
Yes.
people.
Oh, nice.
Which
So we had 18 last year? Is that what I said?
I
It's
think
like
you said
16.
I think you said like 16
Yeah, it was 16.
last year. So
Yeah, last year we had 16, and it was the first time it was at Adepticon.
Okay.
yeah.
And it blew up. Like most of the players, there was only like 2 players that had played more than 4 games.
Oh, that's pretty
It
cool.
was
Yeah, it was
so
pretty new at the
awesome.
time.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's back, and 26 players. It's separate from the Kings of War event. That was one of the things last year is that those events overlapped. So the fantasy section had a little overlap. We've adjusted that for this time to separate those two, give the guys that do the rank and flank the chance to come play in the Armada tournament.
Nice.
So really excited for that. It does mean, however, that I am painting up a whole bunch of islands and other kinds of nautical terrain.
Just for the record, Pat does have a box for at least 8 tables of scenery that we had last year.
It was funny when I asked and he said, I don't have any. I'm like, then what happened to
What
it
happened
all?
to all
Like,
the-
I remember painting a whole bunch of it. Like, where did
Because
it
we
all
did
go?
that last year. Because it was the first year, and I was like, we need scenery for this game. So Brian and I just started printing and printing and printing.
I need to
Nice.
print up a bunch of fortresses again, I think.
Does Mantic not make scenery for that game?
Not for that game.
Okay.
Not 3-dimensional. Like the base game does come with like cardboard placemats kind of things.
Yeah, it's
Sounds
the
like
scale.
a thing. Sounds like a thing Monster Fight Club should get involved with. And start making some nautical scenery.
Yeah.
Because they already make the forests and the mountains and the pine trees and all that stuff.
That would be really cool.
That would be really cool if they did that.
Yeah.
You should make a call, Rick.
I have to. I have a call with them tomorrow. So.
Perfect.
And I mean that works great for like was it Oak and Iron? Is like it's
There's
kind
a
of
whole bunch,
close to that scale.
Yeah, Flesh and Blood.
It's
No.
Blood and Plunder.
Blood and Plunder.
Flesh and Blood. I'm like,
That's a different game.
That's a card game, isn't
I
it?
haven't heard of that one yet.
It's a card game.
I've heard of it because
Yeah.
it keeps popping up at like local game stores. It's
Yeah.
like we got a Flesh and Blood event going on. I'm like, I have no idea what that is.
What is this weirdness?
And but so we have Armada.
Yep.
And then we have Firefight. Literally an hour afterwards.
U.S. Championship Firefight.
The U.S. Championship of Firefight, also
Yep.
the debut of version or
Second edition.
second edition. I was like
Adepticon.
version 2.
Yep.
That's not the right
not
word.
versions.
I've been programming too long today. And so second edition's premiere event at Adepticon. It's also has 20 seats total. I think last time I checked, we were at 17 players. So that is likely to fill up.
Yep.
We're pretty darn close, and that's exciting to see.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have some more Firefight stuff we'll be talking about a little bit later as we circle back to that. And then Saturday we have Deadzone,
Yep.
the national championship there, and that's always a great time. 18 people
Yeah.
signed up for that. Or was it 9? It might have been 19.
It's 19 now.
It's 19 out of 20.
Okay.
So that one's almost full. That might be the biggest
We had 20
we've
in
had.
Michigan.
Well, we did have 20 in
We
Michigan.
had 20 in Michigan.
So it's a fun time.
It is. Like, and it's kind of sad that I won't be like, this is the first time I haven't ran Deadzone at Adepticon for 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it has.
But it's in good hands because you're running it.
I am running it. And I hope
And
to,
Firefight.
to do well.
And Armada.
And we are getting some, we're getting a lot of the prize support and stuff kind of planned out and
Yes.
squared away. I've actually reached out to a couple of people that we do actually have like terrain from that will be using. Corvus Gaming Terrain
Yep.
is kind of agreed to kind of sponsor a table. So I've already got all the stuff printed and painted from them because it's really great stuff for Deadzone.
Yep.
And he seems to be down with sponsoring as like a prize support. And
So
yeah,
Corvus Bell is also the guy that did our
he did design our logo.
Our logo.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Like in like half an hour.
Yeah.
Like it was one of those because we reached out to him because we were talking about like some Deadzone podcast merch.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it. I was like, well, what's your logo? And I sent him a shot of our logo, and he's like, oh, hold on real quick. And like half an hour later, he sends this to us, and we're like, okay,
Okay.
what do we owe you? And he's like, nah.
Very
I
cool.
was like, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and we're sparking. We're speaking to a couple others of other terrain that we regularly use and will likely have at the event to see if we can kind of spice up the prize support even more. We usually have a really good showing of that from Mantic, so we like to make sure people walk away with some goodies. Yeah. So
Are you talking to Lasercraft? Mark from Lasercraft? He's out of South Bend, Indiana.
No, we haven't.
I have
talked to him
not,
yet.
but that
Worth
is
a conversation.
is
Yeah,
worth
because he has a
checking out.
booth at Adepticon.
Okay. Did we meet him once before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we've met him.
Yeah.
And we've looked at his scenery. Like his, not Deadzone, but his scenery would be amazing for Firefight.
Yeah.
Like if we could reach out to him and talk to him about sponsoring a Firefight table, that would be amazing.
Yeah. I will do that as quickly as possible because
Yeah, because it needs to be painted.
it needs to be painted quickly.
Yeah.
So that's big events coming up, and the Kings of War one. I know they
Sold
expanded.
out waiting list.
They sold out. They had a waiting list. They expanded again. I think they got like 4 seats left out of 46. Yeah. Something like that. So
It's
it's
a huge turnout for them, which is awesome.
yeah. And no, it's going to be a great time. Mantic Night is back.
Just rub it in, Brian. Thanks.
Yeah, as I point to Rick about that. Oh, I'll also mention. So Mantic Night is Saturday evening.
Yes.
And it's a great time. There's a lot of games. We get a lot of kind of Easter egg announcements from Mantic about
especially when
stuff.
Ronnie's there and he's had a few drinks.
Yes.
So Ronnie's here in the States now.
I saw that. He's over in
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh with Kyle.
I'm wondering if he's here and in staying here up until Adepticon.
No.
Foolishness.
No.
Wasted opportunity.
It sounds like you could reach out to him to have him come over here.
I already did.
Okay.
Yes, he did.
And he laughed. He said LOL.
LOL.
So that usually means
No.
not this time, Rick.
Not this time.
Was it for sure an L for the last one, or was it an I? Because was he saying let's play League of Infamy?
No, it was definitely a LOL, mate.
But on top of that, there is another secret event. Secret in that it's not widely public on the Adepticon site.
Correct.
Is that we have an unofficial Dreadball event going on. In that, because there's
League in the Night Dark.
yeah. It was unsanctioned Dreadball, I think is what I called it.
Yep.
And really what that is, so it's kind of between when Deadzone wraps up, I think at 5 on Saturday before a Mantic Night starts up.
Yep.
So there's a little window of about an hour or so, and there's a number of people that may or may not want to, or may not be going to Mantic Night, but just want to hang out and play some Dreadball. So I took it upon myself to create an event and to facilitate that.
Because you don't have enough going on.
Because I don't have enough going on. And I've even rounded up some little bit of prize support for that event as well, for a little trophy and goodie. And then we'll be providing a couple of fun things as well from the podcast. And so it should be a fun time, much more casual. Yeah. And in fact, it'll be something where I probably start it and then hand it off to all right, Jeff, you go ahead and
go have fun.
And it'll either be the just pickup games or a Dreadball Ultimate, which is a multiplayer version of that game. It's always so much a fun time.
All right, so I have questions.
Yes.
Dreadball has, like if I'm playing Dreadball,
yes,
my team or squad has how many miniatures is a normal roster for that?
A normal roster is, maybe around 8. There's usually 6 on the board at a given time.
Yeah.
You have 5 activation.
Unless you're Z's.
Yeah. Okay. So, but usually right around 8 miniatures usually.
Rick, are you familiar at all with
Blood Bowl?
Blood Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, kind of plays like that. And I say kind of loosely.
Right.
Because it is on a grid.
Sure.
But
my question was because it's a secret event at night. You know how you can go to a bowling alley and they'll do the laser bowling?
Yeah.
Yep.
Imagine if everybody who participated had to paint their miniatures for that particular event in fluorescence and neon reactive fluorescent paints. Right?
That would be a fun time. So
you could shut the lights off, turn on a black light, and then all the units are just bro.
Well, now I want to have a Dreadball pitch that glows in the dark.
In my MSU one wouldn't work.
No, it would be close because it's all white.
If it's only 8 miniatures, that's not an overly taxing
correct
paint scenario. Right?
Yeah.
Now, if we had thought about this about 3 months ago,
yeah, that would have been.
Well, here's the thing.
Jeff would have done it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. The GT. I know you're talking
That's
to
true.
that, but that could be something you could introduce at the GT, and as one of their later events, maybe.
That could be.
Or find a room where you can set up to do
a black light game. That'd be kind of cool.
Right?
That would be kind of neat.
And if it's cool there, it'll be cool at Adepticon.
Yeah.
Next year. Right.
You give us such wonderful,
weird ideas,
crazy ideas.
So that's a whole bunch of what Brian is doing at Adepticon.
Yes.
Well, there's something else that I know that you guys are doing that you didn't mention. It may not be you particularly, but Mantic is doing. Right?
Oh yeah, Brush with Death.
Brush with Death. What an amazing name for a painting competition, right? I'm like,
the statues.
Oh dang it! That's
too.
what I forgot. I forgot to bring my statue down. I gotta remember to bring the statue down so you can see it.
Rick won one time.
Oh, okay. All right.
Just because I was the only one to put it in a vehicle.
I mean, I tried doing that method too, and then stuff happened.
Paint something for it, because even if you're not there, I could put it in for you.
That's true.
Or you could put it in for him.
I mean, you could just be under the name Rick.
Right. But I don't want anybody to think that it's me, because if I were to enter it, I'd want to put my own piece in.
Right.
But I'm not. No. I'm 3 feet away. I look good at 3 feet away. You all right?
Yeah.
So I could paint up something, and you could put it on there as Dead's on the podcast.
I could do that.
Yeah, and then you guys could win your own turn,
Yeah.
That'd be funny. That'd be awesome.
I mean, it'd be neat if it was like the somehow incorporated our logo in some way, like some kind of enforcer.
Oh, I could do an enforcer in that color.
But Brush with Death, what a great name.
Isn't it?
Well, I was kind of upset at myself for not coming up with it. I was like, man, if I were to do a painting competition or host a painting competition for miniatures, what would I call it? And then you said, well, I saw
Semantics, Brush with Death.
And I was like, oh, it's so good.
It is. It's really cool.
Yeah. Always some great painting that goes there, and feel free to, you don't have to enter the competition if you don't want to. You're more than welcome to. But they're posted in a little display case at the Mantic booth in the vendor hall. So go check it out, because there's some stunning work that goes through there.
I mean, I might paint something and put in there. I do have an airbrush now, so which makes me a professional.
See, I'm not at that level yet. I don't have an airbrush.
No, but I haven't used it yet. But I already know I'm
saying I'm a professional, and that's not a thing.
I can't? That's not how that works?
Because if you have an airbrush and it makes you professional, that means I'm a professional.
Yeah. You have an airbrush?
I've been using an airbrush.
I mean, Rick, have you seen what you've been painting?
It's all right.
It's getting really good.
It's all right.
Yeah.
It's fun.
He's modest.
He is. We'll get him over that.
Yeah. But speaking of painting, I'm painting a lot of terrain.
That's always the fun part, right?
Yep. But I realized I did kind of derail us. Rick, what are you doing at Adepticon?
So I'm going with a company called Resnova Games out of Ann Arbor.
Nice.
And I work with them, and we are going there to promote and demo the Warzone Eternal miniature skirmish game based off the Mutant Chronicles. It's Warzone has been around. This will be its third edition, if you want to put it like that.
Third iteration?
Yeah, third iteration. Yeah. The second edition was basically created by a bunch of folks over in Europe who had the IP for a while, and now my friend Alex has it and has been working on it diligently and everything. So that's the capacity I will be there, is the demo, be a hype man, come on by. Hey, the sad thing is I don't know how to play the game. Right? Because I do marketing. Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm going to be there. We're going to do some giveaways. We're going to get people in to play the game and just hype it up. Right? Because it'll be launching on Kickstarter in May.
Okay.
And Adepticon is the first show that really the target audience is going to be at. I don't think we're going to be at the Nova Open, which is fine. Though sad, because that's another great miniature show. But we're going to do some stuff there and get it hype and get the community to see like what the miniatures look like, how the game is played, and all the bells and whistles.
So Mutant Chronicles, like that at one time, like this game's been around since like the 90s.
Mid-90s.
Mid-90s, and it was really popular. And kind of fell off a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
and now it's coming back.
It's the IP holders of that time, kind of like
let it languish a little.
Yeah. And then it went back to the IP holder, and then they licensed it out to another group in out of Europe, I believe Italy, and then they held on to it for a few years, and then it went back to the IP holder, and then now it's in the hands of Resnova, and it is our intentions, and I hope Alex hears this and can back it up, it is our intentions that it's called Warzone Eternal because we don't want to ever let it fall off again.
Nice.
So it'll be around for as long as Raznova's around, and hopefully that'll be for a very long time.
So, Alex, if you hear that, leave a comment in the section below.
Well, and really, we ought to get Alex on here.
I agree.
Yeah, that would be good.
Because it's in a different universe than what we do, but it's still that sci-fi miniature game. And like when we start talking about a hobby, I've kind of derailed myself from making Mantic models for a project. So I mean, we talk about all of it, and what better place than us, Deadzone the podcast, to talk about another game to get more people into both games.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Chopper,
I'm Brian
And I'm Rob.
from Mobile Armor Radio.
and you are listening to Deadzone the podcast with Rick and Brian in the morning.
Never heard of it.
I don't even know who those guys are.
So that's what you're doing at Adepticon.
Yeah, at Adepticon. And of
then-
course, I'm networking. I'm
You always network.
always networking.
You're
because
closing yourself off in a room and just
Right.
like, I'm going to stay in my hotel.
I'm gonna set up a throne after the vendor hall hours. I'll be setting up a throne and holding court with all the other vendors to see if we can work together on other projects, which leads to the very next weekend.
Yeah, which is so like you're literally going to take a nap
Pretty much.
and turn right back around and go back to Chicago
Yes.
for
C2E2.
C2E2. And what is C2E2?
So C2E2 is the Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo. So
the Rick Show.
2 C's and 2 E's.
2 C's, 2 E's.
But you got a really cool thing going on there.
I do. So I spoke with the vice president of Rick-tok, which is the expo company that runs C2E2, Emerald City Comic Con, all the PAXs,
Okay.
and New York Comic Con,
Wow.
Florida SuperCon, and I think they have one or two others that are
Okay.
under their belt.
So kind of
All major conventions
Yeah.
that everybody's pretty much heard of. So we were talking, because I was just following up. Hey, how you been?
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, he says, just prepping for the cons for this year. Da da da. I was like, yeah, it'd be really cool paint and takes at your shows. And he's like, oh, we're actually thinking about doing something like that. And he goes, and I've noticed you've been doing some of that because I've been doing some little paint and takes at smaller events around the area, right? And so I go and he introduces me to their event coordinator, and they love my pitch. And it doesn't hurt that I am very well connected in the miniature and board game communities. Mm-hmm. And so I gave them my pitch. I told them what I could bring, and they're like, "Well, what kind of footprint do you need?" And I said like 20 by 20, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no problem." They come back. Well, we're going to give you a 30 by 30 booth, which will seat around 27 painters at any given time, right? But it's more than that for me, right? Because it's a big marketing push for my partners in play, which is like CMON, WizKids, all these different companies, Geek Envy, Monument Hobbies, Vallejo Paint, Army Painter. These are people that are like sending stuff. Mantic.
Yeah.
just for the record, Mantic.
Yep.
Which Rick will be putting together all the.
I'm going to be building a whole bunch.
Yeah, because one, I don't know the miniatures. I don't know what will go well together.
So I mean, that's what
visual.
when you look at miniatures.
Yeah.
So you look at GW and you look at Infinity. Who's that? Corvus
Corvus
Belli?
Belli.
Corvus Belli.
Corvus Belli. A lot of them, they put directions in their boxes for their miniatures.
Yeah.
Mantic doesn't.
So good.
They've started to.
You know who else doesn't? Parabellum.
Yes, that's true. So they started, like the second edition Deadzone starter box has some directions in there for
nice.
building, so they're starting to get there.
All right, cool.
I never knew it was a thing because I started with Mantic miniatures.
Right.
I didn't know directions was a thing
Right.
until I started doing some GW stuff, and I'm like, oh, they actually tell you how to put this together. So I might have, like in the beginning, had some enforcers that
No.
We're not correct.
No, that makes
They have
sense.
those great, arching spines.
Yes.
Yeah.
But as far as like the C2E2 event goes, like WizKids has already sent me like 3,000 or 4,000 miniatures for this. They sent me a whole pallet.
You did a TikTok and showing that palette, and I swear from that TikTok, it looked like that was like 6 foot, 7 foot.
It was almost as tall as me, and I'm 6'5".
Yeah, that was a huge palette of miniatures.
It was a lot. And you saw when you guys got here the
Yep.
boxes that are in the stairwell and coming down from the landing up top down into the main area.
WizKids.
Tons of WizKids boxes, and I'm breaking them down
Yeah.
so that they're individualized miniatures, right? And then we got some really cool other prize support coming in because I'm doing a free a no pay raffle.
All right.
Right, and how you get tickets is through following the social media platforms of the different sponsors, miniature sponsors, and other prize sponsors, right?
Okay. So, like, does C2E2 have like an Instagram or stuff that that person could follow?
Absolutely. And
as one of their
100%.
Okay.
Yep. And then like some of these other weird sponsors that people, you know, that just are like, what? You know, so I got Death Wish Coffee.
Death Wish Coffee.
Right, the sponsor. I've got another company called What's Your Passion, and they make geek-themed jewelry, like high-end jewelry, right? And they're sending.
You need to look that up for Alyssa.
That might not be a bad idea.
And they make some really cool stuff, and they're sending like some necklaces and rings and stuff that we'll give away in the raffles. You know, like
take Alyssa to C2E2
like,
and go do it.
like 1 or 2 a day.
Yeah.
You know, we'll give away 1 or 2 of those a day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was super cool that they were down, right? Because you
Yep.
know they're like, "Yeah, you gonna boost our socials?" Absolutely,
Well, that's kind of what you do.
right?
Yeah.
And but the big thing is, and fingers crossed, if this goes well at C2E2,
Yeah.
Reed Pop is considering taking us to some of their other shows, like
PAX Unplugged in
New
New
York
York.
the big one being New York Comic Con.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which is, you know, PAX Unplugged gets around 40 to 50,000 attendees.
Okay.
So that's a decent number of
Yeah.
for a gaming convention, right? Because Gen Con gets between 50 and 80,000, right?
God, that's a lot of people.
And C2E2 gets close to 90,000.
Really?
Yeah. And then
Holy crap.
New York Comic Con
Well,
boasts 200,000.
200,000 people.
That's more people than I know.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's more people than there is in Alaska.
No, there's over 1 million in Alaska.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
You just can't find them all.
Right, right.
Because they're buried in the snow.
Yeah. The bears have got them.
Yeah. Hopefully not.
But that's a big thing, too. And then
Yeah.
my hope, too, is that other conventions that may not necessarily have an event like that at their show that would like to have something like that might reach out and be like, hey, could you bring that to our show? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, is this show going to be at the Michigan GT?
The paint and take?
Yeah.
So from everything I understand, yes.
Awesome.
That we're going to try to find
Okay.
a space to facilitate it at the GT, because I did something very, very small this past year.
Yeah.
Where I was just kind of demoing the new Vallejo paints
Yeah.
that are coming out like now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you had a really small table.
Yeah, just a
for
small
it.
little booth area. And some people came in and sat down and painted some, Dungeons and Doggos stuff,
Yep.
right? But it was mainly the spouses or kids
Yeah.
of the folks that were there playing the games,
Right.
right? And, when you think about it, a lot of people bring their significant others to some of these events, and they don't necessarily enjoy standing there watching someone play a bolt action round, right? And not being a participant in some capacity. But if there's activities for those folks to do, right, that is only good for the show.
Yeah.
One, it means that the families will be like, oh, absolutely, we can go to that. I'm going to sit down and paint all day.
Yeah.
And that's awesome,
Yeah.
right?
Or some like casual games and like casual events in general would be awesome
Right.
to see at the Michigan
like
GT.
a open board game library.
Yeah,
where
yeah.
people can just go in and pull some games.
Yeah.
And, right.
Some games. Like, I have an idea where there's a library.
So you saw, well, when you got here, you saw the green totes.
Yes.
That's literally me building the library.
That's so awesome.
Everything that goes in there is part of the board game library I'm putting together, and I've already got 12 totes full.
Yeah. I believe it.
And it doesn't even look like I've done anything with the games.
No.
It's like, have you even touched these things? No. But yeah, so there's that. It'll also be at the Capital City Comic Con. We're going to do a paint and take there as well. As well as the circus that is my marketing thing.
Yep.
Anyways,
Because that's what you do.
That's what I do.
Yep.
And and then I'm also hoping that some event areas in the area, like here in Lansing, might be like, hey, would you like to come out and do a paint and take at our location?
Like just at a store or
The stores are easy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And stores don't necessarily expand your market of new players.
So
Fair point.
obviously, it's funny because we were talking about this before the podcast. There's a little event you're going to in March.
Correct. March 4th.
March 4th in Old Town Lansing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Like, I'm trying to think of the amount of barbarian miniatures.
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
There's a ton. So it's
called Burr, Beards, and Brew. It's a lumberjack event. Right? And
Nice.
and he's going to be there.
I'm going to be set up there, but not for painting miniatures.
I know.
I'm going there. I'm going to be hustling a game called Flapjacks and Sasquatch, which is a very lumberjack themed game. But it's also for me to test what does that community look like and act like, and interests lie.
Yeah.
Right. But as far as like an event area, I've already got my eyes on a place that I want to go hit up, because I want to go to places that you wouldn't see a normal paint and take, or even a paint and take in general.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys familiar with the new Lansing Shuffle?
I am not.
No.
Do you know what was the market behind the convention center?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I think I know that one.
Yes.
Yes, you do, because you parked right next to it at the Michigan GT.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's a big blue pole barn looking building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they've revamped it.
Okay.
Right, and now it's called Lansing Shuffleboard.
Yeah.
Right. So on the mezzanine level, they have the full blown, like you'd see at a retirement home, the shuffleboard, right? Areas, right, for people to play, and then there's a bar in the center of the building. Around there's a bunch of tables, and then there's kiosked restaurants. It's like a big giant food court, right? And I'm like, okay, that would be a place to go and set up a board game night.
Yeah.
Right? To introduce people to our hobby. You know, again, a soft intro, right? We're not going to take.
Yep.
No offense, I wouldn't take Deadzone to an event like that, but as a gateway opportunity, right? Teach them some board games that might get them into gaming hobby, and then you introduce them to all the other weird stuff. But a paint and take there,
that's pretty simple.
Pretty simple, right? They can come to a table, grab a miniature, grab some paint, go sit down. When they're done, they can bring the paint back and keep their miniature, and again, have them follow stuff.
Could you imagine holding a Deadzone tournament at a place like that?
That would be sweet.
Really cool.
Right. So my thought is going there. I've already reached out to the organizers or the owners of the building, and they want to like chat.
Awesome.
And I'm like, well, so here's what I do, and they're like, oh wow, that sounds interesting, but I want to go see the facility and see what kind of like right. So that all this weird stuff, C2E2 Adepticon and miniatures, and right. It's like how do we get more people playing the games that won't necessarily have direct access to them, because it doesn't necessarily lie in their interests, or they've seen people play it and they haven't like stepped out of their comfort zone to try something. And it's one of the easiest things is, hey, come paint a miniature, go get a beer from the bar, sit down. You know, it doesn't have to be great.
That's really true.
It doesn't have to be great, but you know, we tell them regardless of how it looks, that looks awesome, right?
Yep.
Good job. Now paint 10 more and then compare that one to that one, and you're going to see improvement
every single time,
and it's going to be awesome.
I mean, it goes back to the sampling in a market where they give you the little hot dog on a stick, and it's like when you try it, there's a little bit of ownership that you impart as a consumer.
Absolutely. And my other big thing too is like if they go sit down, right, And let's say we hand them a placemat, not a playmat, but a placemat that they can put over the table. So if they make a mess, it doesn't get on the table.
Yeah.
And it's easily to clean off. But that placemat is branded to Army Painter, right? Or to any of the games that the miniatures are from. And there's a QR code that says, hey, watch, scan this QR code, and while you're painting, watch how to play Marvel United or Deadzone, right? While you're painting, and be like, oh, that's the game that this miniature's for. Wow, that actually looks pretty cool. Man, those painted miniatures look really cool on the table. I want to learn how to play that game. And then just below that QR code is order Deadzone from Magic. QR code and get an order in on that.
It's like he's done this before or something.
No. In fact, we were at Myers. He's like, Rick, do you remember those? Like, we had them when we ate in
when we were kids.
Placemats. And I'm like, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. What up? And he goes into this whole idea why we're in Myers, and I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah. And now, like, Weird has Malifaux, Through the Breach, The Other Side, and Vagrant Song, and all those other games that they make. They're making one. Right?
Really?
For the C2E2 event.
That's awesome.
And I'm trying to talk to other companies that I'm working with into making one too. But I am under the impression, and if any of y'all hear this, I'm under the impression y'all don't know what the heck I'm talking about. All right? Because I tell them, it's like, this is what I want. And I think they think playmat, like a neoprene.
Yeah.
playmat.
And
I'm like, no, I'm talking
a
like
placemat.
A placemat.
Like if you were
Gonna feed a toddler.
emphasizing
at the kids' table at Thanksgiving.
You're eating here. I don't know. Like when I would eat at like Leo's or lodge or whatever that is. Over on Jolly Road, like they gave us placemats.
It's the paper ones too, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And on it are advertisements from local businesses.
Absolutely.
Yep. That's where I got this whole idea.
Yeah.
That's where I got this whole idea.
So
like,
awesome.
If I'm going to sit at a diner and they're going to give me a placemat that has, plumbing and cooling from such and such.
Bob's Towing.
And Bob's Towing. And all these things around the outside.
Do you need your gutters done?
Exactly.
Right. And then in the center of that placemat is usually branding to the restaurant you're eating at.
Yep.
Right? A picture of the, a black and white sketch picture of the building of the restaurant that you're eating at, right?
Yeah.
That is exactly where my thought came from. And I mean, I would even just do paper.
Right.
But I'd rather have plastic,
something a little bit more durable.
Something laminated that I can take to multiple shows that if I need to update it, it's not an expensive update.
Right.
Because one, I won't pay for it. I'll just have the publisher. Have the publisher be, hey, can you make some of these?
Yeah.
I need 10 more for the next season featuring your new hottest game.
Yeah. And then just you laminate them quick so you can wash the paint off them easy.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's
right.
That's a great idea.
Right. And I don't know why nobody else has done it because you've been to paint and takes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And in my opinion, they're actually quite boring. Right.
So, yeah, if you watch from the outside.
if you watch from the outside, they're very boring. And if you go in, the idea of painting a miniature and sitting there and everything is calming. For a lot of us, it's cathartic. It's like it's good, right? But when you go to when a company is going to donate product of their game to a paint and take at any event, Origins, Gen Con, wherever, and all they get out of it is the amount of people that sit down to paint might go ask a question, what miniatures is this from? And a lot of times people working those paint and takes are like, oh, I don't know. But
oh, yeah.
Right?
But with all that stuff, now they're going to know.
Right. I want them to know, like, hey, oh, that's awesome. You picked up Captain America from the Marvel United miniature line for this particular game by Simon. Could you give them a follow and as a thank you for donating the miniature on their socials? Oh, there's a QR code for their Instagram. Awesome. Here's a raffle ticket. You're going to be entered to win this cool prize from Simon, or you can pick whichever one you want to put your raffle ticket in. And when that one pops up, if you don't win it, we'll take yours and put it in the big mega prize that we're going to give away at the end of the weekend.
Yeah.
And it's like all the publishers
cool.
all the publishers get the benefit of participating. The consumer gets the opportunity to paint something cool with paints that they may not ever have access to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? Army Painter, Turbo Dork, Monument Hobbies, the Reaper Bones stuff. Scale 75. And the new Vallejo stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Stuff that they would never. Well, I use the Apple Core, Apple Barrel paints
Apple
from
Barrel.
Walmart, right?
Yeah.
I was like, that's fine.
Yep.
You dilute that heavily, but also
check this out.
But also, that's good for terrain,
It really is.
right? And you're also there to give them some. I don't want to just bring a friend to come and help the booth. I want to bring people that know the hobby.
Yeah.
If someone has a question about painting technique, it's like, well, how did they get that effect? Oh, it's called dry brushing.
Yeah.
Well, how do you do that? Well, here's how you do that. And you can give them a little demo. Real
How
quick.
do you dry brush?
Right.
Brush your hand. And then your model.
Yeah. You get it all in there. And when it doesn't look like it's not getting on there anymore, then you can put it on. but it's not coming on my hand anymore. It's magic.
It's perfect.
It's magic.
I'm terrible at dry brushing.
But also people that might have understanding of the games too. Like
Yeah.
they'll be like, oh, you're painting a Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, what's that from? Oh, it's from this really cool 5th edition compatible role-playing game by Steamforge Games, and you get to take on the role of a wizard cat or a paladin Saint Bernard.
Is it
right?
Yeah, I think it's
the Saint Bernard I think is a cleric.
it's the not collie. Dang it.
Yorkie?
No, the Yorkie is like a
The
bard.
golden retriever. Golden retriever is the paladin.
Is a
Oh,
paladin.
that makes sense.
Yeah. And then you have a black lab. I think is a fighter. And he holds a long sword in his mouth.
And like the
named Chantilly.
Chihuahua is a rogue.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Which really should be a bard because
Right.
Chihuahuas are so loud.
and then all the other games that the miniatures are going to be that are provided for, someone can speak intelligently on the game to the potential consumer, right? Be like, oh yeah, that's actually a game that I enjoy playing. No offense, I couldn't say that about Deadzone because I have never played it. We're going to play it. You're going to show me how to play it after the podcast.
Yep. Rick versus Rick.
Yeah, and
For Rick-premacy.
yes, Rick-premacy.
Oh my god.
It's everything that happens at what is it called? The Citadel of Ricks.
Well, I got to take a note on this now. That's going to be the episode title.
That'll be in the notes.
Rick-premacy.
Rick-premacy.
This is Kevin Riddle, and you're listening to Deadzone the podcast. That's right, Riddle. Not Reedlay, not Reedla, not Rydell, not Riddell. Riddle. Just like it's spelled.
And but if I have someone that's at the booth that can be like, oh yeah, that's from Deadzone, or that's from what's Kings of War.
Kings of War,
and you can just talk to them about what kind of game that is. And by the way, if you scan that QR code, you can get you can watch
right over. Yeah,
you can watch a video. And like the other cool thing too is every paint station is also going to be a charging station for their phones.
How convenient.
How convenient.
It's
right?
almost like he thought of that.
Almost too convenient.
Because again, when you're at a convention, a lot of times people either forget their chargers, or
are frantically looking for a plug that they can sit down in the corner for just 15 minutes to get that little bit of charge.
Right.
Because they see that their tournament's coming up and they got to run.
Right. Yeah. So if I provide them an opportunity to sit down, charge their phone, watch a video,
paint a mini,
scan some socials, get some tickets, paint a mini, win some stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's it.
So
I mean that just sounds like a fun time apart from the convention itself.
Right? And what's also interesting, like if you would have came by my booth at Capital City Comic Con last year and seen what I did there, and all I did was if you came up and followed socials, I gave you a ticket. You could give me back the ticket to win prizes, or you could use the ticket as currency to buy stuff off the table. And I had like comic books. I had free RPG Day modules from that were overstocked from them. All sorts of stuff. That it's like, oh, I'm not going to be here all weekend to potentially get that thing.
That's really cool.
I was like, well, that's cool, but for 2 follows, you can get any one of these modules from Free RPG Day. What?
Follow.
And then they're immediately walking away with something.
All right.
And so I'm also going to have some stuff like that as well at the paint and take, right?
I really want to go to C2E2 now.
Well, since you're missing Adepticon.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt either that I have connections with Free RPG Day. I mean, I run their TikTok for them, right? And I can reach out to them like, hey, like anything that you have that's overstock that is still in the warehouses or whatever.
Let's make it happen.
Can you ship that to me, and I'll use the overstock, and then, what is it, June 23rd, I think, is Free RPG Day for this year. So they have a whole new stuff, right? And that's one of the things I want to do is I want to partner up with a local business, come in and run a paint and take during Free RPG Day, and some of the
That'd be
really cool too.
Because one of the things about that, I'm sorry, getting off track. Because again, I'm like, my brain's like, ooh, here's another really.
He does it all the time. It's
cool
kind of
idea.
crazy.
You think that we have like a path that we follow? No, we just kind of wander into the woods.
Well, it's kind of funny because I do the Michigan GT podcast with Rick-tok and Jeff.
Yep.
And it's very
rigid.
there are sections.
Segmented. Yeah.
It's segmented, and this is what we do, and this is what we do, and this is. I don't think we've ever done that.
No.
We've tried.
Yeah, there was an attempt.
And even that fell apart. And we're like, we're going to keep doing what we do.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like Free RPG Day, don't they have a Mantic RPG based on some of the?
So what they just came out with is 5e compatible, and their dungeon adventures, train crate adventures.
Okay.
There is not an actual Mantic role-playing game.
So there's not a Deadzone RPG.
Correct.
Or a
Not yet.
Firefight RPG or a Kings of War RPG.
Yet.
I like the yet on that.
Yes.
But if you can imagine going to a Free RPG Day event, and if anybody here has ever gone to one at a local store, again, very boring. At most stores.
Yes.
Not all stores, but many stores do it right. But if you go to one and they're like, if you show up, you get to pick one thing off the table, right?
Right.
Yep.
That's fine. If you show up and you're wearing a geek shirt, you get to pick another thing. If you show up and you're in cosplay, you get a third thing. If you buy $10 or more in product during your visit at the store, you get to grab another thing, right? And you also get entered to win the main big single thing that comes in the Free RPG kit, which one year was a Warlock tiles that made a 10 by 10 room, and one of the corners was blood stained. It's like, yeah, that's kind of cool. But if a lot of stores don't do that, they're just like, you come in, you can get one or two things.
It's sitting on the counter, and they're not really.
And they're not promoting it. Whereas for me, if like let's say I partner up with a gaming cantina or any of the stores in the area, then they can come in. Oh, we're going to paint miniatures, and I'll make sure that the miniatures are in line with the RPGs that are going to be on the table. And if they paint, you come in, you paint a miniature as provided by Mantic, right? Then you can go get a terrain crate adventure Free RPG piece.
Yeah.
You come back and you paint a WizKids miniature. You can go get or one of the WizKids Pathfinder miniatures.
Yeah.
You go get the Pathfinder thing, a Starfinder miniature, Starfinder thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? And the miniatures would be free as well. Right?
It's all about that whole creating excitement.
And it keeps them there in the store.
Yeah.
They're going to go buy sodas. They're going to buy chips. They're going to get their impulse purchases. Oh, you need a new set of dice. You just got all those new modules. You're going to make new characters. Each character needs a new set of dice.
Of course it does.
You need to go buy those dice.
Yeah.
It's
I think we're just really making people like envious of Michigan. Like they all want to come here now. It's like, man, I got some cool stuff going on.
We're okay with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
move to Michigan.
Completely, because that's what we do. We segue in the weirdest ways.
Yes.
So speaking of all the new things, Firefight.
Yes.
So they just released Mazon Labs. So you know Resident Evil, right?
I do. Yeah, very little. Outside of, I know that Steamforged has Resident Evil board game with miniatures, and they look amazing.
Yeah. So Mazon Labs in the universe of Firefight in Deadzone in Warpath.
Is the umbrella.
They are the
Yeah.
umbrella corporation.
Yeah,
they're completely the umbrella corporation.
Pharmaceutical company that may have interest in like creating zombies that they can control, and or finding all sorts of other stuff.
Okay, I can approve of
Yeah.
that. That
Yes.
sounds amazing.
They just released the beta list, which is on the Mantic Companion app
Okay.
for Firefight, which is a huge. So it gives us another army for Firefight.
Okay.
Using, thankfully, some of the pre-existing stuff like GCPS and Plague, but it's totally Umbrella Corporation.
Nice.
It's so awesome. Hopefully,
Yep.
if I have enough GCPS, I will have it on the 24th.
Oh, nice.
Ooh, cool.
That's the idea.
Of February?
25th.
Yeah.
Of February.
February.
Yeah, 25th, not 24th.
Because we actually have another pre-Adepticon Adeptilite Firefight, as we call it.
tournament.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's a small tournament that we're going to have at Upkeep Games over in Howell, Michigan. Just going to be very similar in points and even scenarios
I kind of figured.
to Adepticon.
Nice.
To kind of work out some of the bugs and whatnot that
Oh.
since we've only run.
Pre-gaming before the real game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I won't name names, but I had people knocking on the door, so to speak, to like find out the inside scoop on what are the what are the
It's so
scenarios.
funny. So there's this whole crew over in New York.
I wasn't going to name names.
I'm totally calling them out. FamilyOfGamers777, Coach.
Okay.
He has been bugging us because he seems to think that New York crew is gonna beat the Michigan crew in Deadzone and Firefight.
Yeah, there's
Ooh.
All right, the gauntlet has been thrown.
All right, so I gotta. So here's another question for you guys. So you have what is it? Deadzone Michigan group or
the Michigan Mantic community.
Michigan Mantic Community, the MMC.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So another one of my brainstorms I had with Jeff was like, because Jeff wants me to open a store, right?
Correct.
As do you and many others. They want me to open a retail facility that has a big game space, all that.
I
fun
just
stuff.
want him to open one so I can run it.
Right.
Yeah.
Also that.
That makes sense.
But my thing that I like gaming clubs. Like Jeff's has his Cobra Kai Dojo.
Cobra Kai Dojo, yep.
Gaming dojo, right? But if you were to take the Michigan Mantic Community as a gaming club, right, and then you go to events like Adepticon, and you we've scored so many points, and then you guys have your own like Kings of Mantic, right?
Yeah.
And you have your flag or your thing that flies higher than all other flags until the next year.
Was that 3 years ago?
It was
Or
when
was it 4 years ago?
Outbreak came out.
So we actually had a whole group of us from the MMC that had shirts that said Outbreak on the back, which was the expansion that just came out, and MMC on the front.
Nice.
And we did we did that.
Yeah.
That sounds
And
perfect.
we had so much fun with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you should. I mean, I would like everybody that you know that's going. Sad.
Yeah.
You guys should do that. You should get and then put the Deadzone podcast on the sleeve, and then have Michigan Manic MMC Michigan Manic Community, and then just
So
crush.
again, it's one of those things. Every time I talk to Rick about things, it's like, why don't somebody build a time machine? Because he gives us these ideas, and it's like,
But we
I
only
need a
have
little bit
2
long
months.
time. But that doesn't mean that we can't start.
Yes.
No, you could do it between now and Adepticon. You could be like,
really could.
Hey, in the Michigan Mantic Community group, who all's going to Adepticon? Who would all be willing to pay for a shirt? And you do a mock-up design to show them what it's going to look like, and then you go to one of the local shirt companies right here, and you get it done in a day. You get it done in a day.
Oh, I got a guy.
Right? And I know you got a guy too.
No, like that could actually.
Yeah, the one that does the stuff for Bath.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've told me.
He could. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, the same amount of colors as Michigan GT, so I actually know how much that costs. That's sweet.
But you miniaturize that, put it on the sleeve, and then you put Michigan Manic Community. It doesn't even have to be in the front. You could put something else up, on the shoulder here, and on the back, where as you're walking away, because we don't look back on explosions.
Yeah.
Right. Just walk away. But as they're like looking at it, it's like, who are they? And then they'll know who you are. Michigan Manic
They'll
Community.
know who you are.
Yeah. the MMC.
That'd be fun.
And then,
Really
then you
would.
got your own handshakes and all sorts of weird stuff. You just go. And for those of you that didn't see that,
This is radio.
as I put, for Michigan, you put your hand up to represent, Michigan, and then you just point at where you're from as part of the Michigan Manic
And
community.
conveniently, we're
Boom.
pretty much right there.
Boom, right in the center,
Boom.
boom, and everybody be like, "I'm from Traverse City."
My
And
my,
so-
my thumb was backwards, but boom.
boom. And that's you guys would dominate. People would be like talking about you guys for,
Legends.
Adepticons to come, right?
Legend.
The Michigan Manta community has arrived.
Rick has a lot of good ideas.
He does,
We need to
man.
be on the show more often.
Well, so the problem with having Rick on the show all the time,
We keep coming up with more ideas.
more ideas, more ideas, more
Yeah,
ideas.
it is.
Yeah.
It is a curse.
Yeah. No, I understand because that used to be like the thing that I would do is come up with a crazy idea, and it's like, oh man,
And
we
then we
should do
try
that.
and figure out how to get it to work.
Yeah.
So far, the only thing we really successfully did was our campaign,
We did do the campaign.
which was a lot of fun. So we played a whole bunch of Deadzone games, but linked them all and essentially told a story,
That's cool.
including having a dread ball. I don't know which one's my favorite, the dread ball or the train,
They were both so much fun.
because we had a dread ball match
Okay.
going on that it was randomized. All of a sudden, all these explosions happened, and the whole Dreadball court got ransacked by the plague.
Okay.
But basically, a game is you can play Dreadball, and then at a certain point, the game will be interrupted, and you play Deadzone over the top of the Dreadball game.
Because
Okay.
we took a Dreadball pitch and we cubed it out,
Mm-hmm.
so you really could play Deadzone at the same time or after.
All right.
But then we also did a whole train heist.
Oh, nice.
And attacking and getting into the train and getting out of the stuff. We had a blast playing those games. Like, of all the ideas that we have had that we've gotten halfway through, we actually completed that because we completed it at his house on this huge board.
Yeah.
It was 600 points?
Uh,
Or was it 400
it was. I think it was 300, and I had two 150s.
Yeah. And it was crazy.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, Deadzone, Dreadball, and Firefight all take place in the same verse.
In the
Yes.
Warpath universe, yes.
Okay, it's called Warpath Universe.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Taking notes.
Well,
Which is the one that really needs
More
a
ideas.
role-playing game.
Yeah.
yeah, Warpath RPG.
Warpath.
I think
I would love.
I think the only part that was it's kind of sad to me about that campaign, because a big part of when we did it was to come up with kind of asymmetric style scenarios, because we didn't have as many
Yeah.
of them at the time, and it was something where it's like we wanted more of like an attacker defender and that kind of setup. The only downside is we can't have those at a tournament.
Right.
Yeah.
To kind of showcase them,
Right.
because that was something when I was putting together the packets for Adepticon.
That's always the fun part.
I was just like, man, I'd love to do something that's not from the book,
Right.
but I don't want to just come up with something on the fly and
Yep.
run with that and run into all sorts
Untested.
of
Yeah.
problems. Because that's never fun. Like if it ruins the experience for everybody,
Right.
just to be different doesn't necessarily mean good.
Better.
So in the future, I'm going to endeavor to come up with a few more for that specific person.
It'd be really cool to have like a story-driven tournament.
Yeah.
And I think we could even with some of the maps that we've done, and building that whole story.
Yeah.
Because I know that, like Andrew over in the other side of the world, they did a whole Deadzone tournament where you started with like 150 points, and
Because-
then you recruited.
Right.
So your next game was played at like a 175 or something like that, and they kind of ended it like that. Like that's a really cool idea for doing a tournament, but it has to be story driven.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'd play in that.
We've got fun ideas, and of course then like Pat, we had him on last time was got us into like doing
178 points.
like the off weird point values just to try it out,
Right.
because he's like
Just to throw
people just
people
don't do all these different point values, but you totally could. There's nothing stopping you from.
It doesn't have to be 100, 150, 200, 400, 300.
Exactly.
It can be,
Well, yeah, in like
I'm going to do a 283.
283.
That'd be a big match.
Oh my god, it'd be huge. One of the things, like for Brian and I, when it comes to Deadzone, like those are it's 100 to learn, 150 is a small game, 200 is tournament size, according to everybody that's not Brian and I.
Yes.
We found that 175 points is that really odd in the middle number, where you can take pretty much anything you want, but you actually have to think about it.
Okay.
It's not 200 points where you just take whatever you want.
All right.
Because you actually have to, okay, I want this,
But I can't
so I have to
afford
sacrifice this.
There's some
to do it.
strategy on the list building side, apart from just I want to bring all my shiny toys.
Right. And that makes sense.
Put all his striders on top. Because
So-
that's what Brian does.
So with a 200-point list,
Yeah.
how many models is that? Would that normally facilitate?
So obviously it kind of depends on the faction you're playing, but like
Sure.
a general number is anywhere between 12 and 15.
Yeah, I was
again,
going
not-
to say like a dozen.
Yeah.
Again, not a large
No,
No.
scale.
not at all.
Because you only pay on a 2x2.
You're playing on it 2x2.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. And like, so we're going to play 100 points.
Right.
And the
So that
list
should be about 6 miniatures each.
So your list has 6. I had to think about it. It's like, wait, I built the list. I know what's in it.
Perfect. Perfect. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
No,
cool.
Mantic's really good about like that. I've always loved the number of miniatures you're playing around with.
Unless you're playing Kings of War.
That gets
But that's
unwieldy.
rank and flank, and that's a whole different.
Right.
That's where you got a tray of 40 guys.
Right.
You got to paint
And you have
out
to paint
40
guys.
guys.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes me a while to do that.
Like a weekend?
Yeah.
No.
So the weekend has lasted. Wait, when did Northern Alliance come out?
I've been watching you. Like you post up in the group quite a bit about where you're at with different miniatures and stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
And now that's tapered off because it's the end of football season.
Football season.
Because my wife would watch football and I can sit there painting next to her.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just like, so at home when Val has to do her IEPs and stuff, she'll do them on the desktop, so I don't feel bad or guilted and not. So
Not
I'll go to my
paying
paint. I'm
attention.
like, I'm painting.
Right.
She's sitting over there. We're not talking.
Right.
She's doing her IEPs, but we're in the same room.
Right. Right.
Yep. It's an
Marital
important
bonding.
factor.
Marital bonding.
Yeah, yeah.
At its best.
Exactly.
Okay. Cool.
What's up, everyone? I'm Andrew
And I'm Coach,
from FamilyOfGamers777 on YouTube.
and you are listening to Deadzone the Podcast with Rick and Brian.
Do you think they'll be upset that our audio is better than theirs?
Nah, Rick will probably just laugh it off. Told you.
But so it's kind of fun that you mentioned the story bit, because not only did we have Mazon Labs coming for Firefight, we also have a new Deadzone 2-player starter coming out
Yes.
that is Plague and Asterians. And actually, just as of this recording, they recently posted a fun little story bit,
2-part short story.
a 2-part short story, to talk about kind of, you know, this planet Omega 7, which is got an outbreak going down, that the Asterian Tesseract is like, we don't want this to go any further. They're like, stop the plague here.
Right.
Which is funny because it's
Nuke
the
the planet.
Asterians' fault to begin with. I'm just saying.
Is Asterians, are they a lot of scientists?
They're kind of like
They're space
they
elves.
kind of get classified as the space elves. They're kind of a bit of that ancient race that's been around the block for a while.
And think they're better than the Forge Fathers.
And
They're not.
and they were as far as we know with the lore has been established now, is they've kind of been the vanguard that has separated where the plague had kind of taken over this series of planets that's just called the Death Arc, where the plague infestation had run itself dry, you might say. They were kind of shielding the rest of the galaxy from that, and then corporations came in and it's like, well, we want those planets, and then they came back completely infected, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Makes sense.
But so they're still involved, and in trying to not necessarily stop plague infestations for overly benevolent reasons, but for their own interest, it's like, it'd be good if for trade,
Sure. Yep.
if this planet was wiped off the map or something like that.
Yeah, just blasted out of existence.
Put it into a dead zone.
Yeah, turn it into a dead zone. And in this case, the short story does include one of the Mazon heroes, Oda Singh.
Oda Singh,
and Mazon are the lizard.
Yeah.
It's the sumo lizard dudes.
Sumo samurai lizards.
Yeah.
So the sumo samurai lizards that you saw in your box for Dreadball, they're slightly bigger.
Okay.
And they're part of the Asterian's army.
Oh.
Yeah, it's actually really cool.
And they highlight in the story. It doesn't go too far into the weeds on what it's telling, but it kind of sets what the characters that come in the box are. And one of them is this new plague general, which is like an infected human with a giant bulbous limb. And I think his name was like I forget if it was rank was general, but it was Ryder was his name.
Ryder.
And so one of the things our characters keep kind of trying to tell themselves is like the plague, they're just beasts. They're just creatures. Like they can't think. Think they turn off the power, man? They can't turn off the power.
Very cool. Yeah.
They very much so can.
Very cool.
So definitely check out those short stories. They're a quick read. They're a fun time.
Yep.
And yeah, so speaking of the next quarter for the fan fiction writing competition, the theme for this time is Beast.
Beast.
Which is fun. I think we'll see some really fun interpretations of that. Man, there's actually been a lot of activity in that group recently.
Yeah, there really has.
And we've reached out to the folks that used to do the Iron Watch fan magazine.
Yep.
For those that are unfamiliar, there's this Mantic fan magazine that was done online for a number of years.
Yep.
Called Iron Watch. And about the time I got it into Mantic Games, I think they were wrapping up if they weren't done already.
It was just after the release of second edition.
Yeah.
That it tapered off.
Yeah. But in that is collections of short stories that people wrote, painting tutorials and guides, and showcasing miniatures that people had painted, and battle reports, like everything under the sun was in this magazine. And so we're now kind of in touch with the creators. I say we. I was not involved in this process, but I'll take no, I won't take credit. Scott and Jared have been doing a great job on this front. And so that content is going to be being made available to people again to look back at those old issues. Nice. Since I think the server that they were hosted on might have gone offline.
Yeah, it did.
But yeah, so there's been a huge boom in number of people joining the group, which I think is going to be very exciting.
And there were a few more entries on the last one, wasn't there?
I think we had around 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But like one of the things I think Scott has done recently, I didn't get a chance to participate because I've been busy, but he did create your own magic item.
Yes.
As like a little short.
Phaneuf, yeah.
Yeah, for like a short story project, and I'm like, that's cool to do every now and then. It's been a really neat time and great to see that little community continue to grow.
So maybe I'll borrow part of your head.
Is it
what?
So
can I have back?
Well, yeah, you can have it back. So
okay.
Then you can write your piece.
Yes.
Because immediately I thought of my Reb Plague.
Oh yeah.
My Strider.
Yeah.
Like that'd be a really fun story to write about.
Yeah, it would.
Because I had a blast building that guy.
the Teraton that teleported.
Teraton Strider.
into a Strider at moment of infection.
Nice.
Yep.
It's a pretty crazy looking mini, and it's sweet.
It's still one of my favorites.
I do have my story kind of like the notes, the bones of it have been kind of jostled out in my head, and we're gonna,
Max.
yes,
Yes. Okay.
And we're gonna be reunited with some characters we've already met, as I want to do. But a couple of characters that have been kind of in the background for a while. We're gonna come back to the forefront again and give them another little spin of a tail.
Right on.
But yeah, so
Whew.
how you guys doing?
Good. Good. Yeah. That's interesting that there's so much fan created content for Mantic and all their different IP.
Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
It's one of the things
I didn't realize.
Yeah, it's one of the things that's always kind of drawn me to the universe that they set up, is that it has so much potential and possibility with the different regions and different spaces that it occupies, and I mean that kind of literally and figuratively, where you have like that open frontier of undiscovered worlds and the potential of adventures there, but you then have those metropolises of like a cyberpunk-esque adventure,
Right.
and you have things like Dreadball, this sport that's taken over the galaxy, all sorts of really engaging tales that you can tell with enough nuggets for like a lot of the alien species for most of them to not feel slapped on.
Right.
As dominating as humanity is kind of in the game, and among the factions, there's still quite a few fairly fleshed out alien species that are in the space.
Nice.
So that's always a fun time.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
So
Yes.
I just invited you to the Ronnie. What's it called? I always forget.
Ronnie the Bard of Mantica?
Yeah, that's where a lot of the fan fiction and the competitions are written. And you know that Ronnie hates bards.
Ronnie
It's so funny.
Ronnie the Bard of Mantica.
Yes.
Yep.
I think, isn't the picture of like his face plastered on Willy Wonka?
Yes, it is.
That sounds glorious. But
Yes.
all that gives me is fuel
Yes, it
for
does.
my next encounter with Ronnie.
I wonder if I have an extra. I might have an extra Ronnie the Bard miniature.
There is a miniature.
There is a mini.
Glorious.
I'll have to check and see if I have an extra one of them.
Does Ronnie the Bard carry? What kind of instrument does he carry or use?
I think it's a lute.
Yes, he has a.
See, I've been considering buying a lute, not for any real purpose, not to actually learn how to play. No, this is a prop.
Yep.
Because I have so many
'Cause that's
weird
what you
props
do.
around here. But if I would go to a show where I know he's going to be at, and I
Bring
carry
the
it
lute.
around, bring the lute and be like, "Oh, hey, it's Ronnie the
It's
Bard
Ronnie the
of
Bard.
of Mantica. Here, I found your lute. Can I get a selfie with you?
Play us a song.
Play us a song, Ronnie." I knew I'd find you in the tavern.
You would
Yep.
find him in the tavern.
That's exactly where you find Ronnie.
But yeah, so covered a lot in this episode, and I think we
Yep.
probably can put a button on that there. So
Cool.
Thank you, Rick, very much
yes,
so for
thank you
coming
for
on.
joining us.
Absolutely. I was also going to ask, do you capture any sound bites at Adepticon for your podcast?
We're gonna see if I have the time to do so with the running of the events themselves. I know I did a little bit of that at the Michigan GT
Yeah.
and was able to get a couple sound bites. But with these events being significantly bigger,
Right. I was actually going to ask you, when do you have scheduled to eat, go to the bathroom, maybe even have a drink? Non-alcoholic.
that
Just
has not been scheduled yet.
based on what you're saying.
So it's fun because, like, obviously I'm not going to be there this year, which is going to make it really tough for Brian in some aspects.
Sure.
But like, so Pat and crew, and they do all the stuff down at the booth, and they always remind us, when your guys' games are done, you guys are done. You don't have to keep up there and stay up there and. But that's kind of like that's our thing.
Right, and it's your community that you want to be immersed in, and I totally get that.
And we hang out up there in like, it's one of those, dude. It's 7:30. We haven't eaten.
We should go eat some.
So they'll run across, grab something to eat real quick. We won't waste any time, and we come right back up to our room.
Right.
Because we're always in utopia. Like, that's where we stay.
And that's, and it totally makes sense, right? And it's open gaming all night long, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So, I foresee not a lot of sleep for those that participate in those things.
Nope.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I'm sure you'll be able to get some sound bites this year.
Yeah, I'll probably have the tool.
Because I was going to offer up my Zoom.
Which was so cool.
That was so nice to have.
Yeah.
So thank you, and I appreciate using it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a fun little recorder. It's funny when it tries to calibrate me. Like I noticed, like going back through the audio, it's like because I like will hold it and it like has to readjust its microphone. So getting used to how it actually.
Well, we can actually set it up too. Is we can take some XLR cables, like the ones that are plugged into these mics. I have more. We can plug those into a microphone, and you can plug those microphone into there. You could have two separate mics.
Oh.
So you just set it down, have mics on a cord, and you can just sit there and interview. You don't have to hand anything back.
Like you could have that like right there.
Yeah, they've got their own mic.
Your
TO
table.
And you just be like, hey, da-da-da-da-da.
Because like when players are done for their round.
Yeah.
You could easily get a soundbite real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like this plan.
Yep.
This is an awesome plan.
Yeah. We'll put the kit together for you.
With that, I think we're going to call it a wrap.
Yep.
But do us a favor. Go on social media and follow us.
Go on social media.
Because we don't go through and do the whole thing. And then watch. He's going to do it.
I got on Spotify. You can listen to us there. We're on Twitch at Deadzone Podcast. I got to read this off a list. Instagram, Deadzone Podcast. TikTok.
Yep.
Where we do all sorts of TikToks. We do have a Discord. We're not on there as frequently as we should be. But there's a fun little group that's on there.
There's actually been people jumping on there.
Yeah, it's been a lot more active lately. And then, if you wanted to reach us directly, you can go to deadzonepodcast@gmail.com. The email will go to Rick, so if Brian doesn't read it, it's on Rick.
It's on Rick if Brian doesn't read it.
And then we do have YouTube as well, where these episodes are now simultaneously recording, posting to.
Simulcasted?
Because there's a delay. There's a
little delay.
There's a little delay.
Sure.
The episode will come out on Podbean first. And then we do have some merch up on Zazzle. Go check out our store and get these neat T-shirts. If you
deck of cards.
You can get a deck of cards
We
with
have
our logo on
a
it.
deck of cards. I have them. They're awesome.
I'm working on getting a hat in there as well. There's a whole thing about paint and not using gradient colors.
Yeah.
But yeah. That's it.
Cool.
That's it.
Very cool.
We'll go with that. We're also on Facebook, but
just look up Deadzone the podcast.
Yep.
Or
Yep.
Deadzone podcast.
Like,
and you'll
actually,
find them on almost all social media platforms.
If you Google Deadzone.
that's a lot easier to say, isn't
it?
Pretty wild.
That's why we brought him on.
It's like you've worked with social media platforms before.
Yeah. Well, when I used to be on Game Trade Media for Alliance Game Distributors, that's like just look up Game Trade Media on all your social media platforms and your preferred one especially, and you'll find us there.
Write that down.
I'm just gonna use that soundbite and replace Deadzone the podcast.
Or I could just do it like, hey, if you're looking for Deadzone the podcast, check out every social media platform because you're probably going to find us. Just look us up, Deadzone the podcast.
Well, now it's recorded.
There you go.
Perfect.
Now I just have to cut it out.
Yeah, now you got to do the Brian thing. Like cut it out and
Yeah, the actual
the actual editing of it.
the post editing.
Yeah.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah. I always do.
No, you don't.
3 things a video or audio editor hates to hear. Oh, we'll just fix that
Fix
in
it
post.
in post.
Well, good night, everybody.
So what is your guys' outro? Do you have an
Outro?
You do not have an outro?
No.
No.
Wow.
Well,
Okay. you want an example?
Well, I mean,
Do you want to try one? Well, we should try one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
What you got?
What you got?
Well, a good one would be like, "Hey, everybody! Thanks for listening to today's episode of Deadzone the podcast. I'm Brian, and
I'm Rick.
And until next time, stay on the path," or something like that.
So it's funny because
It's Warpath.
this is our outro.
This. All right. Bye.
No, you see the red button?
Yeah.
This is literally how we end every single episode.
Yes, I see it. Yeah.
We just start talking, and then all of a
Until
sudden,
someone's just like,
click.
"All right, bye."
all right, bye.
No, we keep recording after that part.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Like we
That's-
did the social media thing, and
Oh,
that's,
that's usually
like
your end?
technically the end of
That's
the
your end,
podcast.
that's your intro.
Yeah.
and then we keep talking.
Oh,
And
okay.
Because
this is the podcast after the podcast.
Yes.
podcast after dark.
Yes.
Gross.